Last Wednesday, my friend Rachel texted me from the parking lot of a high-end organic market in Austin. Her message was short and tense. "You won't believe what I just saw." Attached was a blurry photo of a woman loading case after case into the back of a blacked-out Range Rover. Not normal groceries. These were strategic items, printed checklist in hand, calm and methodical. Rachel said the woman didn't look panicked. She looked prepared. I knew exactly what was happening. That wasn't weekly shopping. That wasn't even monthly stocking. That was a family quietly executing a protection plan most people have never heard about. And right now, across neighborhoods in Scottsdale, Greenwich, and Marin County, the same scene is playing out in parking lots and through discreet online orders. I've spent months studying this pattern, talking to private clients, suppliers, and insiders who serve high-net-worth families. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the exact 11 foods they're quietly accumulating right now, before prices climb higher, before availability tightens, and while most people are still completely unaware. These aren't random items. Every single one has been chosen for extreme shelf life, nutritional density, and practical value in a real disruption. Most cost under $10 per unit right now. And number 6 is so common, it's probably already sitting somewhere in your kitchen, but almost nobody stores it the right way. Stay with me. This information could quietly change how prepared your family actually is. Food 1. Raw wild honey, the food that refuses to die. Rachel called me that same night, voice low. "It's just honey, right?" she asked. I told her the truth. For the families who understand preparation, it's not just honey, it's medicine that never expires. My contact Dave supplies specialty food products to private clients across several states. He told me something that immediately caught my attention. He said bulk raw honey requests this year have outnumbered the previous 3 years combined. Not processed honey, not the clear squeeze bottles at grocery stores. Raw, unfiltered honey from trusted apiaries. I asked why. He said every serious client gave some version of the same answer, because it solves multiple problems at once. Most people think honey is simply a sweetener. It's not. Raw honey is food, medicine, and a preservative all in one. It contains natural enzymes, antioxidants, and antibacterial compounds that support wound care, immunity, digestion, and energy. Unlike almost every other food on Earth, it essentially never expires. Archaeologists discovered jars in ancient Egyptian tombs that were thousands of years old and still edible. Think about that. A food that outlives generations. Bee populations have collapsed dramatically in recent years. Raw honey prices have jumped noticeably, with more increases expected. Prepared families are locking in supply now by purchasing directly from trusted apiaries in 20 to 50-pound food-grade buckets. During disruptions, sugar disappears quickly because everyone wants it. But the quietly prepared aren't buying sugar. They're buying something far more valuable and far more versatile. Rachel now keeps a 20-pound bucket discreetly stored in the back of her pantry. Her sister thought she was overreacting until she read the research. She ordered her own the next day. And that's the pattern you see again and again with this list. Once someone understands the actual value of what they're looking at, the hesitation disappears completely. Food 2. Grass-fed ghee, the eternal cooking fat. My friend Marcus, who consults for several high-net-worth families, called me 2 weeks ago. "Ghee orders have gone parabolic," he said. "Not jars, gallons. One client just took 50 pounds. Most people overlook this one completely. Regular butter spoils fast because of its water and milk solid content. Ghee is butter clarified, all the water and solids removed, leaving pure, shelf-stable fat. Stored properly, it lasts 10 to 20 years without refrigeration. In India, families have kept it for generations in clay pots. Here's why this matters. Think about most emergency food plans. Rice, beans, pasta, crackers, shelf-stable carbohydrates, very little fat. And that's a serious problem. Fat carries flavor. Fat provides energy. Fat makes meals feel like actual food rather than survival fuel. In any supply disruption, cooking fat disappears first. People stock carbohydrates but forget what makes carbohydrates edible. Ghee turns survival into actual meals. It supports hormone health, provides steady caloric energy, and carries flavors that make a bowl of rice feel satisfying rather than miserable. Marcus told me his clients source grass-fed ghee from specialty creameries in bulk. A gallon runs $45 to $65. One family he works with rotates stock so quietly their own adult children don't fully understand the scale of what's stored. That level of discretion is intentional. The goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to have the resource when it matters. Rachel ordered her first gallon after hearing this. She called me 3 days later. "I cooked with it last night. I finally understand what I've been missing." Food 3. Freeze-dried vegetables, the nutrition vault. My neighbor Elena is a practical emergency nurse. Last winter she called me in that tight, worried voice I've come to recognize. Fresh produce had been unavailable for 9 days in her area. Her kids were showing early signs of deficiency. That's when I introduced her to freeze-dried vegetables. Here's the difference most people don't understand. Canned vegetables lose up to 60% of their nutrients from heat processing. Freeze-drying removes water through cold and vacuum. No heat, preserving up to 95% of vitamins and minerals. 1 pound of freeze-dried spinach equals roughly 10 pounds of fresh, and the shelf life, 25 years. Elena's family now has a dedicated shelf: broccoli, kale, bell peppers, carrots, and berries. During that shortage, the family across the street who had quietly built their freeze-dried stock never had to leave the house. Same neighborhood, completely different outcome. Families who understand preparation order from specialty suppliers in large sealed cans or mylar bags, delivered discreetly, not carried through stores. The cost per serving is surprisingly low once you factor in the nutrition density. They treat it as invisible insurance. Food 4. Canned bone broth, the collagen protector. My contact Dr. Patel, a former military doctor, put it bluntly during one of our conversations. The thing that breaks people in prolonged stress isn't just hunger, it's structural breakdown. Your body needs collagen and specific amino acids to maintain itself. When diet becomes limited to basic carbohydrates and standard canned goods, the body begins cannibalizing its own joints, gut lining, and connective tissue. Bone broth is liquid collagen, precisely what the body needs to stay functional under pressure. Premium brands are seeing significant back orders from private clients. At $4 to $6 per can, it's genuinely affordable protection. One can delivers the structural nutrition that prevents the slow physical deterioration that clouds thinking and weakens decision-making. Elena added bone broth to her routine after one conversation. She told me her joint pain from long hospital shifts has noticeably decreased. That's in normal times. In a real disruption, that advantage compounds quickly. Food 5. Sprouting seeds, the invisible 3-day garden. After hearing about the freeze-dried vegetables, Rachel texted me 2 days later, "What about truly fresh food if things get bad? I can't rely on stores forever." I smiled and told her about sprouting seeds. She actually laughed. "Seeds? That's your big secret?" 3 days later, she sent a photo, a simple mason jar on her kitchen counter exploding with vibrant green sprouts. Her message said, "I take it all back. This is genius." Sprouting seeds are one of the most elegant solutions in any serious preparation strategy. Add water to alfalfa, broccoli, radish, or mung bean seeds in a jar, rinse twice a day, and within 72 hours, you have living, nutrient-dense greens. No soil needed, no sunlight, no backyard garden that signals to every neighbor what you're doing. One small bag costing $8 to $12 produces weeks of fresh vegetables. In a prolonged disruption, vitamin deficiencies appear fast, especially in children. Sprouts deliver enzymes, antioxidants, and vitamin C at peak freshness. A single shoebox can hold a full year's supply of sprouting potential. Marcus told me one private estate client maintains an entire closet shelf dedicated to seed varieties, not because they lack space for a garden, but because stealth matters. This is invisible, instant, and renewable nutrition. Rachel now keeps 4 different varieties rotating on her kitchen counter. She says her kids fight over who gets to rinse the jars. Food 6. Activated charcoal powder, the water multiplier. This is the one I teased earlier, and it's probably already sitting in your pantry or medicine cabinet, but almost nobody uses it to its full strategic potential. Dr. Patel said something that stuck with me. People spend thousands on food and water storage, but forget the one tool that can turn questionable water into something drinkable. Here's the leverage that makes serious preparers buy it in bulk. 1 gallon of water weighs over 8 pounds. Storing 30 days of water for a family of 4 requires nearly 1,000 pounds of weight and enormous space. But 1 pound of food-grade activated charcoal powder costs just $12 to $18 and can purify thousands of gallons of questionable water by binding toxins, chemicals, and contaminants. It has a second powerful use. When food or water sources become uncertain, activated charcoal taken internally acts as a powerful internal detoxifier, exactly what emergency rooms use for poisoning cases. Marcus shared that one high-net-worth client in the Pacific Northwest ordered 25 pounds in a single quarter. When Dave asked why, the client simply said, "Water security." No further explanation needed. Store it in sealed containers. It lasts decades. Rachel added 2 pounds to her order immediately after our conversation. She told me it completely changed how she thinks about preparedness. The realization that water security doesn't require a warehouse full of plastic jugs, that it can come from a few lightweight sealed containers, is genuinely freeing. It changes the entire math of what's possible in a modest space. Food 7. Bulk sea salt, the ancient preservation weapon. I once asked Elena, while standing in her organized basement, what she considered the most underrated item she owns. Without hesitation, she pointed to a 50-pound bag of quality sea salt in the corner. People laugh when I say it, she told me, but this might be the most important thing down here. Real sea salt isn't just sodium. It contains magnesium, potassium, iodine, and trace minerals essential for nervous system function and muscle health. In a restricted diet, it shifts from seasoning to genuine necessity. But the deeper value is preservation. For thousands of years before refrigeration, humans used salt to cure meat, fish, and vegetables, extending their usability for months. That knowledge is being quietly revived by families who understand that electricity and supply chains are not guaranteed. The Romans once paid workers with salt. That's literally where the word salary comes from. An item most people overlook was once considered a form of wealth. Marcus reported that bulk salt orders from his private clients jumped significantly in the past year. It takes up almost no space, costs very little, and solves multiple problems simultaneously: preservation, nutrition, flavor, and even basic trade value if conditions become serious enough. Elena stores hers in airtight containers. "It's the item I worry about least," she said, "because I know I have more than enough." Food 8. Wild-caught canned salmon, the premium brain fuel. Dr. Patel shared something during one of our late-night conversations that took me days to fully absorb. In any real extended disruption, he said, the factor that separates people who thrive from those who merely survive isn't total calories or physical strength. It's cognitive function, the ability to think clearly when everything around you is falling apart. That's where canned salmon becomes one of the most strategically important items on this list. Most people walk right past it and grab cheap tuna. That's a significant mistake. Salmon delivers dramatically higher levels of omega-3 fatty acids, the exact nutrients your brain depends on. Under sustained stress, the body burns through these fats at an accelerated rate. When levels drop, mood crashes, anxiety spikes, and decision-making deteriorates rapidly. Poor nutrition doesn't just affect energy, it affects judgment, focus, patience, everything. Wild-caught canned salmon at $3 to $6 per can is still widely available and far more nutrient-dense than most alternatives. Marcus told me it has been one of the fastest-growing categories in private residential food orders for over 18 months. Some clients are securing full cases and rotating them quietly into regular meals. Elena added 4 cases after our discussion. She said later, "I never thought about preparing my brain, only my body. That was a blind spot." In normal conditions, she already notices improved focus during demanding shifts. In a real disruption, that mental clarity could be the difference between a smart decision and a costly mistake. The brain is a resource just like any other, and it needs to be fueled accordingly. Food 9. Fermented foods, the gut protection strategy. Dr. Patel said something near the end of one of our conversations that I've never forgotten. He said, "Most people think immunity starts in the medicine cabinet. It doesn't. It starts in the gut." Then he explained something that reframes the entire concept of food storage. During stressful periods, digestive health deteriorates rapidly. Poor food choices, disrupted sleep, elevated stress, everything compounds at once. And when gut health suffers, the immune system follows closely behind. That's why prepared families have become increasingly serious about shelf-stable fermented foods. Sauerkraut, kimchi, fermented vegetables, probiotic-rich foods that support the foundation of immune resilience. Dave told me one client now dedicates an entire pantry section to fermented products and called them health insurance you can eat. That phrase stuck with me, because that's exactly how serious preparers view it. Not food, protection. Sarah, a friend who first started paying attention to these patterns, added fermented foods to her weekly routine after hearing this. A month later, she said something interesting. She wasn't thinking about emergencies anymore. She was thinking about quality of life. That's the strange characteristic many foods on this list share. They improve daily life while simultaneously preparing you for uncertainty. Food 10. Whole wheat berries, the 25-year grain vault. Marcus reframed the entire conversation about grains for me one afternoon. Every serious pantry I've seen stores raw wheat berries. Not flour, not pasta, not packaged bread products. The actual intact grain in sealed food-grade buckets. Here's why this matters. Processed white flour has the nutrient-rich germ and bran stripped away. What remains goes rancid in 1 to 2 years. Whole wheat berries are the complete package, nothing removed. When stored properly with oxygen absorbers in sealed containers, they maintain full nutritional value for 25 years. A 50-pound bag costs roughly $40 to $60 from commercial suppliers. Prepared families buy in larger quantities and store discreetly. When needed, small amounts can be ground fresh for maximum nutrition and flavor. In any disruption, processed carbohydrates disappear first because everyone reaches for them. Raw grains last longer precisely because most people don't know how to use them. That knowledge gap is exactly what the genuinely prepared are quietly leveraging. Rachel set up her first 2 sealed buckets last month. She said the psychological security of knowing she has a true long-term staple, one her family can turn into fresh bread, porridge, or cracked wheat at any time, feels fundamentally different from everything else on her shelves. Food 11, raw cocoa powder, the hidden morale multiplier. Elena called me on day 7 of a preparedness drill she was running at home. Her voice sounded drained. Day 4 almost broke us, she admitted. Her youngest looked at another bowl of plain rice and beans and started crying. Elena felt helpless. She had nothing comforting to offer. Then she remembered the raw cocoa powder. She made a simple warm drink, water, cocoa, a touch of honey. Within 20 minutes, the entire family's mood shifted. Her daughter stopped crying. Her husband smiled for the first time in days. It sounds small, Elena told me, but in that moment, it was everything. This is the dimension of preparation most people completely miss. Morale is a survival resource. Prolonged despair leads to poor decisions that compound into real danger. Raw cocoa powder contains natural compounds that support mood regulation and stress management. This isn't marketing. It's neurochemistry. 1 pound costs $15 to $25 and makes hundreds of servings. Wealthy families have been increasing bulk purchases of it because they understand that psychological resilience is as important as any physical stockpile. Marcus said his most prepared clients treat morale items as genuine strategic assets, not afterthoughts. Sarah now calls cocoa powder her family's quiet insurance. Elena keeps multiple pounds vacuum sealed in her basement. It's insurance for the mind, she says. Now step back and look at the full picture. These 11 foods aren't random. They form a deliberate layered system. Immediate medicine and immune support through honey and fermented foods. Long-term fat and preservation through ghee and salt. Deep nutritional density through freeze-dried vegetables, sprouts, and wheat berries. Structural physical support through bone broth, water security through activated charcoal, cognitive protection through salmon, and psychological strength through cocoa. Together they create something far more powerful than basic survival supplies. They create the genuine ability to function well under pressure, not just endure it. My friend Rachel recently sent me a photo of her organized pantry section, 11 items neatly arranged, every container labeled and dated. She wrote, 6 weeks ago, I was confused watching that woman with her printed list. Now I get it completely, and I'm doing exactly what she was doing. Here's what I want you to take away from all of this. The families building these reserves aren't panicking. They're not preparing for the apocalypse. They're not making themselves visible by rushing to stores and clearing shelves. They're doing the opposite. They're executing quietly and systematically over time. If you decide to follow this approach, start small. Pick 2 items from this list this week. Order them from reputable suppliers and have them delivered. Store them properly in a cool, dry, dark place. Use them in your normal daily cooking so nothing goes to waste and you build real familiarity with each one. Next week, add 2 more. The week after, 2 more. Within a month, you'll have quietly built the kind of foundation that most families never think to create, and you'll have done it at today's prices before conditions tighten further. Notice what this strategy is not. It's not flashy, it's not expensive, it's not dramatic. Every item on this list is boring, practical, and useful whether times are easy or difficult. That's the entire point. The best preparation is invisible, quiet, unremarkable to anyone who happens to look. Sarah summarized it perfectly when she sent me a photo of her stocked pantry after her first month. If someone opened this pantry, she wrote, they'd just think I'm organized. Exactly, that's the whole idea. The real separation between prepared families and everyone else isn't money or special access to information. It's awareness combined with consistent, disciplined action taken before the majority of people realize anything has changed. Every item on this list becomes more valuable when availability becomes less certain. That relationship between preparation and timing is the core of the entire strategy these families follow. If prices rose sharply tomorrow, which of these 11 foods would you wish you had purchased today? That's the question worth sitting with. Comment below with the item that surprised you most, or tell me which 2 you're starting with first. I read every single comment. And if you want to go deeper, subscribe and turn on notifications. The next video goes behind the scenes on the exact storage and rotation systems that keep all of this organized, invisible, and waste-free over the long term. This isn't about fear. It's about quiet, practical resilience built on real patterns and real conversations. Stay practical, stay patient, stay ahead.